Texas lawmakers now have some new numbers to factor into their debate when they head back to the Capitol next month to reconsider a contentious issue. A group of Texas voters recently told pollsters they largely oppose an effort to ban vapes, drinks, and gummies containing THC. Here to talk more about those polls' findings is James Henson. He's the director of the Texas Politics Project, which released this poll along with the University of Texas. Jim, welcome back. Nice to see you.
Good to see you, Will. Thanks for having me.
So as we have well reported, state lawmakers are coming back to Austin for a special session on July 21st. Of course, we're looking for that, but they are set to discuss whether to regulate or outright ban consumable hemp products, which has put the governor and lieutenant governor at odds over this. So what did you all ask voters about this issue in your poll, and what did they share with you?
Well, I think the most direct question we asked, given where the legislature is, was whether people supported or opposed outline the production and sale of hemp-derived cannabis products. And as you alluded to, only 31% supported, 53% opposed. And I think when we see the lieutenant governor and the governor at odds over this, that's reflecting a lot of the Republican divisions in public opinion. Among Republicans, 46% supported the ban, 39% opposed it, but 15% said they didn't know. So Republicans are very divided on this.
Now, as you look at these results, how do you think this glimpse into public opinion could factor into that debate come next month at the Capitol?
Well, I think particularly in the Republican majority, the issue here is that whether you're a Republican on one side or the other of this issue, you're going to feel like there's some support, but also like there's some risk in how you deal with the issue. But if you look at some of the other data on marijuana, on particularly medical marijuana, we do know that over the last decade or two, Republicans have become more divided, with more Republicans being more open to decriminalization or various kinds of low-level recreational use, and we're seeing that at play here.
Another thing your poll asked and looked into is how Texans are feeling about the job that President Donald Trump is doing so far. And what stood out to me is that his disapproval climbed since your last poll in April. So what are some of the other clues that your poll can tell you about why that might be?
Well, you're a good close reader of this data, Will, which I appreciate. I mean, I think if I was to look for one explanation, it's a little complicated, but not amazing. If you look at the set of questions we asked about how Donald Trump is handling specific issue areas, one of his lowest ratings was on the economy, 39% approved, 51% disapproved. And that kind of gets at an issue that we know is very important to voters. And two of the big issues that drove Donald Trump's election were his personality, but also immigration and border security. As the economy has become more important relative to immigration and border issues, I think this has been a problem for the president.
So before we let you go, I want to ask you one more thing. So there's some contentious elections that will be coming up next year. We obviously want to look down the road for that. And you asked voters to share their opinions about the two Republicans who are running for the U.S. Senate seat here in Texas. That, of course, is Ken Paxton and John Cornyn. So how do you think those numbers might impact the primary that we're going to see?
Well, I mean, I think that primary is not for a little while, but certainly the numbers that we found in asking Texas voters to look at the job approval, at the job performance, and more personally in their favorability ratings, we saw what we're seeing in a lot of other polling, particularly among Republicans. Ken Paxton is much more popular and viewed much more favorably than John Cornyn. In some cases by, quite a bit. Among people, for example, that identify as strong Republicans, Paxton's favorability ratings are 15 points higher. They're even much higher than that among people who identify as strong conservatives. But I would also say, remember, that primary election is not for a while. When we ask people how much they've heard about this race, only 9% said they had heard a lot. So there's still a lot of money to be spent and a lot of road to be traveled in this race. But certainly right now, thinking about the Republican primary, Ken Paxton is in a much better position than John Cornyn.
All very interesting, and we are only scratching the surface with all this. You can read much more about the poll results on our website at kxan.com. But for now, Jim Henson, we appreciate you being with us again, as always.
You're welcome, Will. Thanks.